Thank you, Tom. Thank you, colleagues, for the invitation, and thank you for have the possibility to give you a brief presentation on that what we are doing on the eSense side. As first to introduce myself, my name is Carsten Schmidt from the Ministry of Justice of North Rhine-Westphalia, Germany, and I'm here on behalf of the eSense project that I have the pleasure to coordinate on behalf of all the participating countries, beneficiaries, and so far and so on. Yeah, as Tom and also Joao already said, we in eSense try to complete the work that we have started in our large-scale pilot projects. What we are for sure not, we are not software vendors. We don't want to compete with the market because you are much more experienced in market developments and what are the needs. What we are doing is we are trying to set up for several other things. Let's see, we name it reference architecture and reference implementation, so that we have an example of that what we expect, and that we also can show to the to our countries, to our beneficiaries, and explain them what we are doing. Just a brief overview of the large-scale pilot projects. The large-scale pilot projects itself are created for specific areas and also for general e-government and e-justice and e-health activities. The idea is to create a sustainable and extensible solution for the governments, and therefore we developing generic technical building blocks. I think you heard already of these building blocks. We are trying to hand over at the moment all these building blocks to the Connecting Europe facility, and Connecting Europe facility is then responsible for the further development and maintenance of these building blocks. Here you see in the bottom the building blocks that we are using and reusing from former large-scale pilot projects, and one of the most prominent building blocks is eDelivery. The others are obviously eID, e-signature, semantic interoperability, electronic documents. Just a brief overview about the project. The project started in 2013 in April. It's coordinated by Germany. The duration is 48 months. We have a project budget co-financed 50-50 by member states, beneficiaries, and also the European Commission of roughly 27 million euros. And it's the last of the LSPs under the SIP program that was already named by Joao. The idea of eSense is to pick up the already existing technical building blocks from the former large-scale pilot projects, because the former large-scale pilot project was more focused on specific domains, on specific legal bases, and the idea was and is that we reuse the building blocks that are in the shelf of the member states and the European Commission, that we generalize them and make them ready to put them in the shelf of the European Commission to be used for other areas. And I think you heard already what Joao said, that in the future funding project, the Commission is forcing the participants of these funding projects to reuse these building blocks. But I think for the building blocks we have to say that's not that we are forcing them to use the implementation, we are forcing them to use the profiles, the standards that we are developed. So you can do something by your own, you can buy something off the market or extend what is already on the market. The need that we see is that you use the profiles and the standards that we are defined in the project and in the European Connecting Europe facility. For this we have developed the so-called solution architecture templates. This is, I think, in our work package 6, one of the technical work packages in the eSense project, but we have also other SATs, as I already said. Besides eDelivery we have eDocuments, eSignatures and eID. And what we are doing in this area is we are using them in different combinations for the different domains, and in the domains that we are piloting and where we are doing our job is, for example, e-justice, e-health, and so far, and also e-procurement. And what we want to do with the piloting is that we want to show that what we are developed is ready for the market, that it can be used by the member states, so that we can also transport real cases, that we have, for example, real procurement processes that are going on, that we are having in the e-justice sector, also real court claims, for example, and that you in other areas also can use your e-ID and e-signature for others, cases of your real life that happens every day. And just here a brief overview about the real-life scenarios that we are piloting. This is, as I already said, is the e-health sector. It's more for the citizens. If you are having something that happens to you in a foreign country in Europe, you have to need to access to your patient summary, and the idea is to give you an easy access to your patient summary, that you get the medicine that you need, and really within a short time, and not to validate and get difficult access to this information via fax or calls or whatever. In the e-justice domain, as I already said, we try to exchange claims between courts, between citizens, legal practitioners, and we are especially at the moment trying to pilot the European Account Preservation Order, what is a new directive on the European level. I think for e-procurement, and I see a lot of familiar faces who are very familiar with the e-procurement domain, there are several directives more or less new on the market, where it is expected that that we have electronic procedures, and the idea is also to support the transformation into reality with these technical building blocks that we have developed. For business lifecycle management, I think we all know that we have in Europe a huge variety of administrative procedures to set up a business or to exchange information between businesses in the member states. Last but not least, named also in the BRIS directive that was already touched today, and therefore we want to support the transformation of this directive and also the other legal requirements into reality, to make it easier to have branches abroad, to set up a new business, or to change what is happening in the business, so that you can extend your businesses to other areas. And last but not least, we saw that what we developed for the business life cycle management can also be used for citizen life cycle. This is, for example, studying abroad on another university, and all these related things, that you have access to the information that you need to present it to the university to apply for a study there or whatever. And also I think e-agriculture is a new part of the project, where we are piloting and where we are using these sample implementations that we use. But also I think what we are using are vendor developed implementations. There's a huge variety of solutions that we are using in these pilot scenarios. And to going more in the direction of that, what is the content of today's meeting, I think we are very proud on the eDelivery building block, and I think the idea was, and I think we fulfilled this expectation of all participants of the project, that we developed a reusable transport solution that could be and is the basis for future European development, that is the basis for the CEF DSI eDelivery. We have already handed over the further development to the Connecting Europe facility. We just specified the profile in eSense. It was based on EBMS 3.0 and then the AS4 profile, what is the content of today's meeting. The idea is, and I think we fulfilled this expectation as well, that we develop a plug-and-play solution from the point of view of the standardization. It is extensible to further areas, is reusable to further areas, and I think it's also from the specification point of view something that is totally content agnostic, so you can transport each and everything in a secure and reliable way. It is very worthwhile to mention that we are also proud that we could implement not only AS4 as a profile, we are also using the ETSI REM evidences as another standardized area that we did together with ETSI, obviously the standardization body, and also for the a very easy exchange of info and fast exchange of information, and picking up who is my contact point. We have SML, SMP as an essential part in our specifications and our solutions. And that we are not developing something that is totally out of scope of that what is expected by the market, by our users. We are in contact with the standardization bodies OASIS and ETSI, but also for some minor parts with ISO. And I think we are always inviting you as vendors to participate in our project, to deliver input that we are not doing something just purely for government and that is focusing on just specific areas, that we are again going back and sticking into our silos. And as I said it already, I think we just initiated and generalized this and handed it over all the things that we did now to the Connecting Europe facility. So Connecting Europe facility is now your contact point for further requirement definitions and so far and so on. We are just responsible anymore for piloting activities related to the eSense project. And just to give you a brief overview in which areas we are using AS4 as a profile, I don't want to explain you the spreadsheet in details, but you will get it, as Joao said, after the meeting. You see we have the huge variety of areas and countries in which AS4 is used for piloting activities, and this is the state of play of this month. It was provided by our colleagues from Greece, who are responsible for the piloting and piloting coordination activities in the project. If you have questions, I think we can discuss them at the end of my presentation. Yeah, and I think all these things are nothing without proper testing, and therefore we have also testing activities defined in the project. And together with our Turkish colleagues, we developed a generic test bed, especially for all the needs of eDelivery testing, because we already so at the beginning of the project, the requirements that we have this kind of eDelivery test bed for all these different domains and areas, and not only for the domains and areas, and not only for our own solution. We also saw, because we have already directly at the beginning discovered that some of the member states want to use their own vendor-driven, vendor-developed solutions. So the idea was to have something that fits for the reference implementation, but also for market-developed solutions. And therefore we defined these needs and features of the testbed. And again, here what we developed is not something that is a very proprietary. It is something that is generic, that is based on standards, for example the definitions of OASIS that we used for the test assertion model, and we have defined together with European Commission, with the partners in the project, with also vendors, roughly 50 different test assertions that have to be fulfilled to pass the eSense test and eSense test bed. And also this is, I think, from my point of view, a very successful part of the project, because this generic test bed was developed, tested in eSense. It's already now handed over to the European Commission, and the Commission is now doing the next steps on this. And they are offering a service to vendors, to all interested parties, to do these tests now on behalf of the Commission, the European Union and the Member States. So again, you are having here now a single point of contact that you as vendor can get in contact with if you are interested in these kind of tests for your e-delivery solution, that it fits with the requirements of the definitions of the Connecting Europe facility. And you see here just to what we are all testing. We are supporting and we are testing things in parallel. We have interoperability tests with each other. We have generic tests for the different solutions, but also I think interoperability tests between the different solutions. And I think on top, besides this, that we are offering these generic test bed for e-delivery in the pilot use cases. In our work package 5, we are testing these solutions under real condition, real time, real life conditions, so that we are really exchanging information that we are using in our daily business in the participating countries. And Joao already named it. I think in our project we have roughly 100 partners and I think around 750 people who are at least part-wise working for the project. And 20% of these partners are, or 25% are partners from the market. These are vendors, these are real companies who are doing business with that what they in their daily life and not only participating in large-scale pilot projects, and they are not governments or universities. Also to show you a little bit how we designed the architecture for the test environment, and you see here as well what we did. We developed on the top of the generic testbed a kind of a generic adapter that allows you more or less automated tests with the test based on the test assertions, based on predefined test cases. We have something like a web interface that gives you help and assistance, and the idea is to automate everything as much as possible, to make it as easy as possible, because we all know that tests and test cases are sometimes very time consuming, and that you are not losing too much and have to invest too much efforts just to pass the tests, the predefined tests. And I think especially here today we have already a lot of partners who passed these tests successfully, and also I think we have one of our developers for so if we have specific questions we can also go into details of the architecture of the test environment and the tests itself. So we have the competent colleagues from Connecting Europe facility here and from the project here, so we can really go and dive into the deep details if you want to do this. But again, we are very happy is we successfully tested it off-the-shelf products of big companies, smaller SMEs that develop AS4 solutions, and our reference implementation. And just yesterday I learned that we retested, for example, the reference implementation, and it passed all these tests automatically, more or less in less than 1 hour, if everything is already set up in a proper way. And I think this shows you that you can do this more or less easily, and that you not have to invest hundreds of person days to pass the tests. Yeah, and last but not least, just to give you a little bit more of an insight, this is the high-level architecture of the project, how all these different building blocks are fitting together in the architecture of the eSense project. This is based on the European interoperability reference architecture, and we have redefined it or amended it for the special needs of eSense so that it fits with all the different domains that we try to cover in eSense, and that it is also extensible and also easy to be maintained. Because what you heard as well, the idea is not to stop all these piloting activities after the end of the eSense project, what obviously come next year, because we then want to hand it over to the Connecting Europe facility, and that Connecting Europe facility is then the next, let's say, mid-term solution for the maintenance. And for the future, I think the member states, stakeholders and Commission are in a dialogue. What is a long-term solution for the maintenance? Probably we want to hand over everything to an European agency that then on behalf of all these partners do the further work after the end of Connecting Europe facility in 2020. This, from my point of view, was the rough overview about eSense, what we are doing, with a little bit of a specific focus to eDelivery and the tests. But I think also I was asked to give you a generic overview on that, what we are doing in the project. Thank you very much. Last but not least, there is the thing a little bit also worthwhile to highlight why we are doing this. As I said, we are not competing with the market, because I'm, as a civil servant, I'm already paid by the taxpayer. I have not to fight for my monthly salary. So that's not what we are doing. It's just what we are doing is that we show that all these things are valid and can be done. But we also, I think, we want to show to the market and the citizens that it's worthwhile what we are doing. For the citizens, we want to highlight that the taxpayers' money is used in the best possible way. And for the businesses, we want to show two different things. We want to show that we can make the bureaucracy less ineffective as it is on the paper-based way. So we will help them want to help them in their daily business. And on the other side, we also want to show the market that there is a market for your solutions, that you can jump in and that you can deliver solutions to the governments. The idea is, and I think this is also what we have seen in the eSense project, that we are having member states who say, okay, we have these specifications, I probably have my data center, but I don't want to do this or redo everything, rebuild everything in my data center. I just want to be responsible for the maintenance, but I want to go to company X, Y, and Z because I have already so many products of them. Is there something that they can deliver and we can use it because the whole government is working with solutions of company X, Y, and Z? And then I know automatically that it fits into my software implementations that I'm maintaining at the moment that we are using. So this is, I think, that also a thing where we see that there is something for the market, for the vendors, and you can jump in and, based on the developments and specifications of the eSense project, can build up your own business for governments, for probably also other companies that just want to use interfaces or solutions of your company to be interconnected to the European digital service infrastructure. Yeah, thank you for your attention. As I said, this was a brief overview of that, what we are doing and that what we are offering. Most of the services are directly offered by the Connecting Europe facility of the European Commission and doing on behalf of the member states, but we are supporting the colleagues, especially, as I said, with the piloting activities in eSense. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Carsten. Seeing as we've recovered our time quite well, I would say if anyone has any questions right now, we can go ahead. Just please introduce yourself.
Hello, this is Mohammed Yıldız from Eprocurement 6. Actually, I have worked in the development of the testbed. Maybe this is a complementary, but I will ask a very, very short question, and the answer will be short as well. What is the name of the testbed?
Yeah, sorry, I missed this part. I think the testbed name is Minder, that the colleagues developed in Turkey.
Yeah, thank you.
Any additional questions? No? Yeah?
One thing I didn't explain is that if you read the grants, the call for grants, you will notice that once the project is concluded, INEA will ask the implementer to show that the solution is working according to the specifications. So that means that we make a reference to the testbed of CEF or an equivalent testbed as a mandatory element of that project. So if, let's say, someone is receiving a grant, they will need to go through the testing or use a product that was already tested. So this of course is an important element also.
Thank you very much. Yes, please. Klaus.
I have a short question for Joao. The grants for eDelivery this year, do they still support AS2?
Yes, they do. You know it. So in the case of AS2, it will be the OpenPeple testing process.
Thank you.
We don't support AS2, we support OpenPeple AS2. That's what is written. The profile of OpenPeple.